Hello and welcome to the SHRMLabs WorkplaceTech Spotlight. My name is Guillermo Corea. I'm Managing Director of SHRMLabs. I will be your host for this new series where we will be shining a spotlight on some of the most interesting future of work innovators, innovations, and issues of today. I'd like to thank the Welcome team for helping with the production and delivery of the Workplace Tech Spotlight. Please visit experiencewelcome.com to learn about this great virtual events platform. Before we get started, some housekeeping and general announcements. If you're in the Welcome platform, you can turn on captions by clicking the CC button on the bottom right corner of the stage. So please make sure that you do that if in case that you need that functionality. For any of the founders out there that are listening to us today, the Workplace Tech Accelerator application period for the 2023 cohort will be opening up on December 1st. We're also going to be opening up the application period for the Better Workplaces Challenge Cup, the leading workplace tech pitch competition, and this will be launching on September 28th. This year, we're further expanding the competition globally to even more countries and adding a new track for SHRM members to showcase how you, the HR professionals who know the workplace the best, are innovating the workplace. Lastly, for those of you watching on LinkedIn or social media platforms, please share this live stream and tag SHRM. You can also use the hashtags SHRMLabs and WorkplaceTech. So today we're going to delve into an HR issue that has been blowing up on social media: quiet quitting. According to a recent Harvard Business Review article, quiet quitting is a new name for an old behavior. Some of you may remember it as just floating on the job. So joining us to talk about this topic today is Hakeem Isaac, CEO and co-founder of unboXt. unboXt helps companies address productivity and retention issues. So we're very excited to delve into Hakeem's firsthand knowledge on quiet quitting and the issues that surround it. So Hakeem, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the stage. So before we get going here, maybe you want to tell the audience a little bit about unboXt, and you're certainly no stranger to SHRM. You've been with us for a couple of years now, so maybe some of the people out there already know you. But for those who don't, tell us a little bit about unboXt.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first off, Guillermo, thank you for having me and inviting me to share a bit of our expertise on the word quiet quitting. We've all seen it trending throughout our social media platforms and within the workplace. But a little bit about myself: I'm actually a finance guy in background. We started unboXt 5 years ago, myself and my co-founder, Kendra Ward. And what unboXt does, and it seems pretty timely, is that we identify and we capture employee feedback, and we turn that into real-time insights for managers to drive team motivation, morale, and trust.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And let's get right to it, since we have only a short amount of time for such a long topic, right? So is it true? I mean, are employees out there really doing the least amount of work from what you guys are seeing?
Oh, absolutely. But I don't think this is a new trend. I think that you have, I think first off, we should start by defining what is quiet quitting. So the first thing is that quiet quitting, it really refers to like not overworking yourself. So you're not doing the extra things, you're doing exactly what you've been compensated for. So you have a role and you come to an agreement on what the exchange should be. There's going to be a compensation. We expect you to work 9 to 5 or maybe 9 to 6, whatever the hours are. And we expect you to get this amount of work done. And you agree to that. And that's all you do. You do nothing else. So at 5 o'clock, you're out. At 5:01, you already shut down your computers. Some people at 4:59, they're shutting down the computer and they're going home. But that's not a new phenomenon. It's not something that's new. But ultimately, it's around the idea of why are they quiet quitting? So if there's someone that is a high achiever, someone that wants to stay and work longer, right? Why are they shutting down their laptops at 5 o'clock, or why are they ultimately quitting? And I think that's where we should really get to within the conversation.
Right. So you're starting to get into a little bit of the root of the problem. So do you think, I don't know, based on a lot of the work that you guys have done at unboXt, do you think that quiet quitting is really related to how much managers are being able to build trust with their teams, right? Do you think that there's any erosion of this trust in the workforce?
Yes, certainly. So I think you have two sides of people, right? You have the one person that that they've always been able to separate themselves from work. They're not the ones that have come into their job and they're saying that, you know what, I want to be the CEO, I want to have the corner office. That's okay, right? That is completely okay. They're coming in and they're steady, they're going to get their job done, but they have pursuits outside of work. So whether that be that they're into art, they're into guitars, they're into, maybe they want to be the professional DIYer, right? That's, or they want to be the family person. That's okay. But then you have this second group of people that they absolutely want to do more. And there's sometimes where, Guillermo, I guess where you're getting at is the erosion of trust comes in, or the lack of communication between the manager and the employee. And so that second group of people that ultimately end up throwing up their hands and they end up going either to another organization, ultimately that's because of why? It's because of the manager. So I think that what we should be asking ourselves is something similar to the HR business review, where they asked about, is the problem of quiet quitting, is this a problem of the employee, or is this a reflection of my management style or lack of management of being able to communicate and set clear expectations of what I want from this employee?
Got it. So when you think about some of the customers that you guys are working with, have you engaged any that have that are quietly quitting, or people who might be on the verge of quiet quitting?
We have. And so one of the things that we saw is that when we've seen these organizations or these employees that ultimately begin to quietly quit, or ultimately begin to check out, they're not showing up, they're not as motivated, their morale is dropping, the performance as a product of that has also dropped. Ultimately, what we're seeing is that there was expectations that were there, and somewhere that there was lost. So there was a disconnect there. So there was maybe a commitment that, hey, look, if I come in and I do my work, that I'm going to have the opportunity to get a promotion. I'm going to have the opportunity to grow within my role. And sometimes that doesn't occur. And what we've seen is that when there isn't a clear communication or between the manager and the actual employee, that's where the erosion of trust is happening. And that's when you see employees that ultimately end up either leaving the organization, or they end up staying and they start doing the bare minimum.
Got it. So obviously this series is focused on innovation, right? And how the workplace is innovating. So what are your thoughts around how technology, and more in particular, how HR can take advantage of this technology to to address a variety of different issues, but more specifically right now on quiet quitting?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is that you have to be open and you have to come in with a clean slate. I think change is always difficult for anyone, whether you're changing your habits, your routines. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be very difficult, and it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. And so I think that when you're looking at large organizations in particular, that they are getting to a point, our HR organizations are getting to a point, and I think Johnny and the team at SHRM is doing a great job of leading this cause and helping organizations understand how do you embrace technology, and how do you open and how do you reimagine HR, and and a part of that is your technology stack. But the first thing is that you have to understand, what are you trying to change, going in with a purpose in mind and with the end goal. And then from there, developing and embracing technologies that ultimately help you streamline and get to that end goal. So first you have to have direction, or else you're going to find yourself that you're going to buy a bunch of technologies and you're not going to be able to go anywhere with it. And you're not going to see the results that you ultimately want to achieve. And so I think the first thing is about setting the big picture, and then going out and finding innovative companies that are doing it. So not only your larger HRS systems, or systems of record, so like your work days or your SAPs or your Oracles, but then also finding young innovative technologies that are approaching a solution or a problem very uniquely. So something like a quiet quitting, which really stems from the idea of, again, just a lack of communication. And so how do you do that at scale? And that's where technology kind of comes in and helps you be able to do it at scale.
Right. And very quickly, if you can touch on, how is it that unboXt has helped customers and prove bad managers, right? And as a reminder to the audience out there, SHRM actually had research that came out in 2019 that showed that 58% of people quit because of a bad manager. So obviously, this is a major issue that's out there. So I'm just wondering what kind of insights you guys have been able to glean, from your customers.
Yeah, definitely. So, Guillermo, one thing that I want to add here before I kind of go into the efficacy of unboXt is that no one, that everyone watching this, no, everyone has to realize that no one goes through the labor intensive, very tedious, stressful, anxiety process of job hunting to throw their hands up and say, you know what, I'm quitting. I'm leaving either quietly, right, through this topic. I'm going to stay and I'm going to do the bare minimum. I'm going to go retract, or I'm just going to go somewhere else. And if you don't believe me, go check your LinkedIn feed, right? You always see people talking about their next role and their excitement about they're extremely excited to be in this new role in a new organization. And there's typically a nebulous reason, right, of why they left. And so ultimately, what we have to do is be able to understand what employees want out of a work experience and then being able to curate that experience for them. And so now bringing it back to unboxing to your question, the way that we measure kind of the efficacy of our tool is that first is around adoption. So our employees using it. So we see a 92% adoption. And that's everywhere within hourly all the way to your professional workers. And when I mean adoption or utilization rate, what I'm referring to there is not only profiles created, but then also digital check-ins completions. So that's our digital check-ins is 30 seconds to a minute to complete. And that's how we're able to understand whether the employee is getting their experience or the commitment that they said that they wanted. The second thing is that our managers more effective. So we see managers are 12% more effective within 90 days of using unboXt. And what does that mean when you say effectiveness? So we look at team motivation, morale, and performance. And really, when you talk about, for us, is that managers being more effective is because they're able to more accurately communicate with their team members. They're able to understand what each team member wants out of their work experience. And now they're able to go and help them, even if they can't do it, right? Something like compensation. They may not be able to increase their salary. However, what they can do is communicate and connect them through a pathway that if that's something that they want, upward mobility or growth within the organization, that they can help them be able to achieve that. And as an output of that is that we're seeing that organizations are keeping reducing their turnover by 10 to 20%. So it's ultimately, when you talk about quiet quitting and the topic here, it ultimately comes down to the manager. And then it comes down to the organization being able to understand that their managers are looking for toolkits. They're looking for something to be able to better understand, better communicate, and drive change within the organization. But that is won or lost at the team level, not at the organization level. It's won or lost at that team level.
Fantastic. And here we only have a little bit of time left here. So very quickly, are there any valuable resources that you can share with some of the HR professionals that are watching out there, that would that might be helpful in regards to productivity and retention, as well as addressing quiet quitting?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing is that let's look at the reason why people are leaving. The top three reasons is one, there's not clarity within their role, opportunities to grow, or the employee feels undervalued. And so I think that regardless of the size of your organization, you should look at and understand what are you doing to be able to better assess and better understand your employees, not just capturing engagement, right? Engagement really has to we have to move beyond that, because engagement is an point in time. Engagement is similar to motivation. Everyone's not going to be engaged every day, right? So when you look at your internal engagement surveys, that's a point in time. No one wakes up every day motivated and says that, you know what, I'm going to just really run after today, right? I'm going to be the best parent I can be today. That's not a reality. And so ultimately it's around moving and transitioning to being able to capture and better understand what your employees want, and identifying, going back to at the beginning of this conversation, there's some employees that they're okay just working the 9 to 5. That's okay. They're loyal. They're going to get the job done, right? But really you have to identify that second population, the talent that absolutely wants more, that they don't mind working the midnight hours, but then they end up leaving. So those high achievers, those are the ones that you really want to be able to identify and understand. Why are they leaving? Why would they leave our organization? And what promises have we made as an organization, or myself directly as a manager, to my team? And then am I committed to actually driving that change? If not, then you're going to have a lot more people that aren't going to quietly quit. They're just going to quit.
That's a very, very great point that you made around the superstars, right? Making sure that we're taking, you're keeping an eye on your superstars. So, well, hey, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. So thank you so much for joining us. This has been a wonderful conversation, and we hope everyone out there enjoyed it. For those of you, if you're interested in learning more about unboXt and how they're innovating the workplace, you can visit getunboxt.com, and that's getunboxt.com. So thank you all for tuning into SHRMLabs Workplace Tech Spotlight. If you enjoyed this live stream, please share it with everyone out there using the hashtag SHRMLabs, Workplace Tech, as well as SHRM. And don't forget to tune in to the next Workplace Tech Spotlight, which is going to be happening on Friday, October 14th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Visit us at SHRMLabs.com to stay up to date. And once again, thank you for joining us. See you soon.